incredibly busy.
Yes.
You know, and then the season, it becomes such a war of attrition in the NFL with injuries
Oh,
and
my
everything
goodness,
else.
ready,
So
so
it does,
when I
like, you
meet
never know.
You need like a
Monday
stockpile
morning,
of
I'll
people
have it.
sometimes. I know.
Oh, it's not an audio book. And it's called, it's The Extraordinary Life of,
Hi, Fred. All right, thank you. 10 seconds.
Hi.
My email.
Which one? About what?
I sent it today.
Yes. Yes, I
And I
did get
know
it.
it's not.
That's all right. We have.
You have
I
some.
think we're starting.
We'll be following up with them again.
Yeah.
Yep. We already talked.
Sam
Michael and I
Harrelson.
already
Chris.
talked about it.
The potential is
Yep.
pretty dire.
Michael and I talked about that already. Yeah. Yes.
All right, we're starting. All right. I'll give a few minutes. I'll give a minute for people to.
Need the clipboard. Next time.
Yeah.
So Ramboll is our engineer.
Yeah, it is.
Just one.
Yes.
Oh my God. Meanwhile, Kira was like, I'm going to protest the singing, Pledge of Allegiance. She's like, I don't think we should be doing it. I don't think we should be like saying under one God. I'm like, all right. And she's like, that's it. I'm like, yeah, knock yourself out.
I'm not gonna fight you over it.
Do whatever you got to do because they say it.
All right. Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you.
Great. Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, March 12th. It's a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session where we discussed a number of things, including board, commission, and committee appointments. The first item on our agenda, well, actually, before we start, I would like to say that within the past week, we've had a passing in the community for someone who meant a tremendous amount to this community, was involved in the village of Rybrook and Portchester and many other, and touched many of us. I know there's at least two of us sitting up here who went through the Blind Brook School District, and when we were there, we went to the Ridge Street Elementary School, and our principal was Bruno M. Pontario. The school is now named Bruno M. Pontario Ridge Street School, and I know he touched my life in many ways, and more than I could describe. And yeah, and he was a really just an amazing person who will be sorely missed in the community. So maybe we'll just have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right. So moving on to our business here. To begin, we have a presentation regarding Brook Lane hydrologic and hydraulic assessment from Ramboll Engineering.
If I could just set the stage a little bit.
Please, Chris.
So what this is we've done some prior studies in the area and haven't, quite frankly, come up with a whole lot of great alternatives on ways that we could mitigate flooding. So we said, let's take another fresh look at this with a different firm. And Ramboll has been doing a really great job in along the Blind Brook watershed and other parts and other studies. And we said, let's have them take a look at this area, and let's see if there's any alternatives we can consider to alleviate some of the flooding conditions in this area. We're never going to eliminate the flooding, I'd say, in this area, but anything you could do to help could be a real positive benefit for the people in that area. So Peter has come, and he's come tonight, and he's giving his preliminary findings for this review of this particular area, given all the information that was available so far to date. There will be some other work we'll have to look at to do some further investigation on alternatives, but I thought it was a great job, and we're looking forward so everyone can hear some of the alternatives that we can consider.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Peter Domaszczyński. I work for Ramboll. And for all of you, probably the fact that Blind Brook,
The best you can, if you could speak with the speaker, that'd be great.
Lift the mic.
Yeah, or there's a portable.
okay. So, yeah, the Blind Brook is well known for being what we refer to as a flashy watershed, meaning that, you know, it tends to have a pretty dynamic response to rainfall, resulting in localized flooding throughout the watershed. Today, we'll focus specifically on a portion of the watershed around Brook Lane. And that's because, you know, after discussing this with the community leaders, we identified that specifically in this area, following a significant rainfall event, it's not uncommon for Brook Lane to become inundated with water and inaccessible to the local residents, which are on one hand facing the raging Blind Brook waters, on the other hand when the streets become impassable. It puts them in a tough spot. So the large question, why is this happening, and can something be done to mitigate? So this is a map that shows approximately, you can see the blue line is Blind Brook, and those little brown lines correspond to the existing stormwater infrastructure around this area. And what I'm going to, let's see here. What you can see here is that Brook Lane is connected to Blind Brook with a dual 12-inch pipe, which is also receiving runoff through a more upstream section of a 12-inch pipe. And so we'll keep diving a little deeper into this analysis. So what you're looking at is a LiDAR topography. Like I said, in this study, it's a preliminary study. We used mostly existing information, and one of the information is topography, which is critical component of you know, anything related to hydrology, which is, you know, just looking how water moves through over land. And so you can see the lighter colors being generally higher elevations, and the deeper green being lower. And what that allows us to do is try to identify what is the water coming from that feeds those pipes before they effectively discharge to Blind Brook. And so here I've highlighted two major watersheds. Watersheds meaning that all water from within those areas. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I highlight those as DA1, Drainage Area 1, and Drainage Area 2. That means that all the water from within that specific watershed ends up either at the catch basins here along Phyllis, or the DA2 directly discharges to a low spot where the existing catch basin is on Brook Lane. So that's just another look at the same information where we've added kind of like the water accumulating streams, how the water moves through the terrain, just allows us to answer the question, are those catch basins in the right location? And the quick answer is yes. You know, if I was to design the system today, I would probably put them at least at those spots, because you want to have those where the water tends to pond naturally. And then
Just let them go through the end. I know you want to ask questions.
So we kept moving forward with this analysis, and like I said, you know, with the orange highlight here, we are looking at specifically the natural topographic low, which means if you forget about where the catch basins are, you know, the water would continue to pond there. And in the black lines is the catch basin. So you have a catch basin almost right smack in the middle of that orange that connects water towards the catch basin here, and then leading it towards Blind Brook. We've estimated that under normal conditions, this area can store up to 9,000 cubic feet of water. That will become relevant just a minute from now. So to further assess the efficiency of that system, so we know we have water coming, we know from where it's coming from, we know where it's going. The question becomes, is the system efficient enough
to be able to effectively remove water from those ponding areas, which, you know, a hint from the pictures, probably it isn't, right? Because we do experience flooding. But we decided to take a more quantitative approach by developing a model. Additional piece of information that supports the model is information about the soils. Generally speaking, at a high level, certain soils tend to drain better. So if, you know, let's say it's a lawn and water falls on it, a good amount of that water will end up infiltrating versus some soils reject water and, you know, result in a little runoff. You want good soil, which is generally considered to be class A or B. Then it goes C and then it goes D. D being the one that is not great, meaning a lot of runoff can be generated, typically clays, hard soils that do not allow water for it to infiltrate. And you can see here, unfortunately, a good portion of that community does have the D-type soil, which means that relying on infiltration is probably not your best bet. There are pieces of B soil that are kind of outside, but almost everywhere where we looked when it comes to those two drainage areas, you're dealing with soils of D-type, poorly infiltrating soils. So the city went, the village, went through the effort of televising and cleaning those specific pipes, recognizing that, you know, one thing that may lead to ponding is, are those pipes in a good condition? So the village went out and sent a camera to identify the conditions of those pipes, and then followed up with jet cleaning of those pipes to make sure that there's nothing residing in the pipes that would further obstruct those pipes. So we use that information just to try to generally understand their condition, and it seems that, you know, they have some age issues to them, but otherwise they're competent pipes. So here's kind of a lot of information, and without spending too much time to kind of boil it down, we can take a pipe, and depending on its configuration, meaning size and slope, this pipe will be able to carry a certain amount of flow before it becomes full of water. So we were trying to understand how much water is coming at this pipe versus how much this pipe can take, which means if there's more water coming at a pipe than the pipe can take, of course you've got flooding, surface flooding. So below here, I'm showing you that a 12-inch pipe, which is the type of pipe that's installed there, at different slopes, and the design flow condition, meaning how much water, those are just numbers. And above here, you can see the combined runoff for a number of rainfall events. And, you know, we talk about 1-year rainfall event, means, you know, versus 2-year rainfall event, versus those have to do with how frequently we would expect an event of this magnitude to happen. So if you take into consideration the fact that one last section of the pipe from Brook Lane, which is two 12-inch pipes, installed approximately at a 2% slope, provides about 12 CFS of runoff, which is cubic feet per second. That can be, so if you take that number, 5.7, let's round it to 6. Let's take 2 pipes, that's 12. Those are runoffs from those individual drainage areas, DA1 and DA2 per event. So let's take the 1-year event. Combined 1-year event here is about 17, which means that the conclusion is that those pipes are undersized. They're not capable of carrying enough flow for 1 year. So typically, when new infrastructure is proposed, we look to provide approximately 10-year. That's a good balance between how much money you're willing to spend on an infrastructure versus how much risk you're willing to accept. We don't build to a 100-year storm or a 1,000-year storm because we would probably spend too much money to mitigate something that may not be, in the end, all that probable. So 10 years is a good breakdown, generally accepted in the industry. And so here, that capacity would have to be approximately 40. You have about 12. So that's one quick conclusion, right? So one may jump into conclusions around whether additional capacity is the solution here, and we'll get to it in a minute. So that's just further some of the elements of the design, showing that that pipe here it's a section view. So you're looking at like a kind of cross section, starting at Phyllis, moving to Brook Lane. There's a 12-inch pipe at approximately 5% capacity that provides about 9 CFS of capacity, which is that 1-year storm, nothing more than that. And then you transition to a dual 12 for about 130 feet. That is about a slightly lesser slope. the conclusions are continue to be the same. We have a capacity issue here, or maybe too much water issue, whichever you want to look at it.
Can't stop the water.
Now, so one quick conclusion, as I said, could be, can we add more pipes to create more capacity? And the situation here is very specific because this pipe discharges to Blind Brook. And as you know, it's probably not uncommon for the ponding along Blind Brook to occur about the same time when Blind Brook is flowing high, because those are typically correlated. It doesn't have to always be the case, but it often is. And what that means is that that pipe, as drawn here in black, it's a cross-section of Blind Brook, and water flowing typically at a height that you would expect some of those issues to potentially materialize. This is that little pocket that corresponds to the ponding area here that's trying to send water with the pipe that discharges close to the bottom of Blind Brook. So what happens is that these pipes effectively, for water to move from point A to point B, there needs to be a hydrologic gradient, allowing this water to go from one place to another. When you have high Blind Brook flows, this will become stagnant, meaning the water in the street will not have the sufficient differential hydraulic energy to be pushed towards Blind Brook. Blind Brook is preventing this water, so it works almost like a backstop. It's saying unless Blind Brook waters drop sufficiently to allow this pipe to discharge, this water will continue to reside in the street. So you could put 20 more pipes there, as long as they're in the same configuration. In the acute moment where you have ponding in the street and Blind Brook is flowing high, just adding capacity will not solve your problem necessarily. Where it will make a difference is once Blind Brook waters drop, and then how quickly you can restore normality in the street. It will matter. One pipe or two pipes will take, let's say, a couple hours to drain that volume of water. Multiple pipes may take much less time. So this is not to say that it doesn't make sense to add capacity. It's just that the benefits would be around not seeing ponding, but how long that ponding is going to stick around once Blind Brook waters recede. And it is a pretty dynamic stream, and typically within a few hours after the peak, we see the waters recede quite dramatically. But for those few hours, those residents cannot access their houses and things like that. So if we can shorten the time, that's probably something, that's kind of the message around, is adding capacity the option. Now, when the pipe is there, and in an unlikely scenario where flooding was, let's say, mostly occurring in a portion of the watershed that didn't result in a lot of flooding here, having those pipes there can actually push water back into the street. So if the dynamics work out, it's probably unlikely, but the dynamics could be such that if Blind Brook waters are high, and maybe you didn't experience as much flooding in the street, that water could travel up the pipe. So the engineering approach to that solution is generally installation of what we call a check valve. So there are devices that can be added to that end section of the pipe that allow only one directional flow, meaning you help when you can, but you don't make things worse otherwise. I hope that makes sense. So then we looked also at just the dynamics of how ponding may. So to what extent is it runoff coming? Because there's two separate kind of events, right? You have the runoff coming from those areas, DA1 and DA2, towards those catch basins. We spoke about those catch basins. But at some point, whether you have those pipes there or not, won't matter if Blind Brook is high enough that it's really the main contributor to flooding in Blind Brook, which can happen. So here we just marked a couple houses trying to understand what elevations the Blind Brook would have to reach for flooding to kind of cross in through the backyards of those houses and start inundating the street. At that point, whether you have a pipe or you don't have a pipe, really, it doesn't matter. It's Blind Brook controlling the situation. Again, how quickly this water will leave the area can be a function of how much capacity you have in those pipes. Now we just kept expanding, trying to understand those elevations and to what extent and how far this water can go and which houses can be affected by it. So it kind of a granular. understanding of potential maximum impacts that can be observed under different scenarios. So another aspect had to do with just the general configuration of the of Blind Brook, whether, for example, we could look into opportunities to relocate those pipes to a place where better hydraulic drains could be achieved and quicker drying of Blind Brook area. And so once we knew that water, as shown here, can actually leave Blind Brook and start inundating the street, the question became, can we create a barrier along a Blind Brook? Think a wall or a dike that could be installed along that edge to keep the water in the channel. And so that's kind of the next idea we explored here. And you can maybe just see it just a little bit. There's a slight change in the topography. So we introduced a wall again along this wall, and we kept running the same scenario, trying to see what would happen. And what happened through this analysis was kind of an interesting outcome, which showed that some of the water that lands within the watershed drainage 1 and 2, and because there are pipes underneath, that water will end up behind your wall. So naturally, the grades allow some of this water to leave overland into Blind Brook, as where brook waters recede. Now you have a wall, and this wall is holding that water for a little longer than it would naturally otherwise. So if you were to install this wall or look into something that raises grades just along the Blind Brook, it is very important to remember that you need to continue to provide ways for water to cross that wall from the land side into Blind Brook. Otherwise, all these people that have a wall will have a lot of water that the wall will be holding, where today it could try to drain towards Blind Brook. So you're creating a barrier which intuitively, for the short period of time where there's flood on the Blind Brook side, may provide some benefit, but we can also counter some of those benefits by holding some of the water back, which it's not to say that it cannot be designed properly to provide for those, but it just makes for a fairly intensive design exercise to make sure that you're balancing how much water you're holding back versus how much water you're allowing to come through the wall. Meaning the wall would have to have holes that, similar to those pipes I mentioned earlier, would have a one-directional flow, allowing them to drain. But nonetheless, it's a consideration that could be further explored. Further on the list of potential options that we tried to exercise was the idea that if we know that the water is ponding along Brook Lane and it really has nowhere to go because it's a low spot, Blind Brook is flowing high, where else can we send that water? So one of the engineering approaches to this solution could be underground storage. So there's a variety of techniques, and I'm just showing a few different ones. You can essentially bury pipes underground that have a lot of volume, meaning you find a space, you open up grade, you put the pipes. It's kind of like burying barrels underground, and you try to pack as much water there as you can during those specific instances where you have excess water. And then over time, you allow this water to either drain back when the conditions are right or infiltrate into the soil. And it's done all the time, and it's a popular technique if you have sufficient space and funds to construct, because let's be honest, it is a pricey proposition. First find a space and then dig deep enough, buy those typically proprietary elements. The one that's gaining a lot of popularity is the one on the upper right, which is those black boxes. They're like plastic crates. They have a lot of void spaces, and they generally are structurally sound, meaning once you put them in the ground, you can pave over, and you can put a parking lot or a street, and you can continue to use the space while this is underground. This was a preliminary exercise, so we didn't look into feasibility of A, finding the right space, and B, actually being able to construct, because one thing that will kill a project like that is groundwater. If you go out there and you find that your groundwater elevations are generally high, that means that as soon as you construct this space, groundwater will come in and fill it up, and you've lost everything you're trying to accomplish. And so we don't have currently a well out there, but one of the preliminary steps to look into feasibility would be to do a well to try to find whether that would support it, and then potentially find a space. Space it's a challenging environment, right? Who would want to donate, or how would we find the proper space for an installation like that? We're thinking maybe like in the street, but street has so much utilities that you'd have to relocate. So it in a confined space like this, in a residential neighborhood, finding the right amount of space could be a challenge, especially given the volume that would have to be provided, which was estimated at approximately 9,000 cubic feet for some of those events that we've seen. So this is another idea that was identified in our discussions with the village, which is, we know that we introduced those two areas, the drainage area 1 and 2. The drainage area 1 was associated with drainage going towards Phyllis, and then it kind of gets pumped down to Brook Lane. So the idea here is that we would intercept the water coming to Phyllis from one of those drainage areas, eliminate that connection, essentially block it, close the valve on it, do not allow the water to continue to flow through this pipe, and instead redirect it all the way down south to this existing water feature. And so I think I can show it here in profile. So this is kind of the same image, identifies different portions of this conveyance going all the way south here. And you can see there's quite a bit of drop towards the point 4, which is right here, which means that there is hydraulic gradient that should allow us to install a connection like that. So we're talking essentially, simply, putting a new pipe of, whatever design size we want, and separating drainage areas 1 and 2, effectively sending less water towards Brook Lane by about half of what it receives today. Like I said, based on this preliminary analysis, it seems like there is enough grade. Of course, it would require, a substantial amount of pipe installation, some additional structures, and probably by the time we get to this existing in brown, we're looking either at adding capacity or replacing it with more capacity, because those pipes already are serving a certain amount of drainage area. So, adequately resizing pretty much everything from Phyllis down to this area. So this is once again that profile. So in summary, we've kind of combined those ideas and kind of tried to do some preliminary understanding of cost implication, construction and engineering costs. And it's tough because, we're working at a high level. We haven't done full assessment. We don't know to what extent some of those options are feasible, but nonetheless, we kind of summarize them here in this table. And we go from top to bottom. And you can see here, we're starting with that, additional pipe right at from Brook Lane to Blind Brook, trying to realize that initial benefit of maybe trying to drain Brook Lane faster with installation of those backflow preventers, adding some capacity there. So you can see that the effectiveness we marked as limited because of the fact that effective it won't necessarily prevent that from happening or even mitigate it. It will reduce the time it takes for this water to drain. The wall is somewhat expensive and also limited because of that balance that you're effectively blocking some of the overland runoff. So you are risking the fact that you're turning people's backyards into something that they don't want to see. That you may be protecting them during certain events, but some events may see adverse effects. Underground detention is the most pricey of the options. It could provide good benefits if you can find a place and if you can guarantee that this space will be available when water comes, meaning the groundwater considerations are taken care of. And last, we go towards that longer conveyance section, which we consider to be probably one of the better options when you think about it, given the potential benefit of separating Phyllis Place runoff from Brook Lane runoff again, from the high level, this is where we are today based on this analysis. A combination, additional options could be considered if we continue to think about it. But with that, that's kind of the summary of our work, and I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
So there's some really interesting alternatives that came out of this, particularly the Phyllis Place to the pond, where we already do have some pipes and easements that go through there. You can see there's some real options there that we might be able to make some good progress there to reduce some of the water by redirecting some of it. So I think that's a very promising thing that we really haven't talked in great depth about or seen as an alternative. So, I think this is one that certainly I would recommend we continue to explore, the more details of it with Peter. And I think there's good progress at I'll say, somewhat reasonable cost as well.
Yeah, it seems to well, first of all, thank you, and thank you for Chris for putting this together.
And Michael, too.
And Michael, right. We appreciate looking into this. As everyone in this room who lives in this area or other areas that flood knows, Village Board and village staff has been investing a tremendous amount of time into trying to find solutions. And that's really what we're continuing to do here. It certainly helps looking at this, and that does seem to be the best avenue to continue any research, but it's not where it ends. The Village of Rybrook and other municipalities have also been looking into how do we reduce flow coming down the brook, because this is really just talking specifically about water created in that area. Once you get just upstream of that area, there's a lot of other factors, and we continue to look into those.
Like the Purchase College option, for instance. Yeah.
Right. For
Yeah,
instance.
this doesn't help downstream flow, which is significant, but this is a way to try to look at this isolated area and say, is there improvements we can make within the system to maybe prevent some of that street flooding that occurs?
Right, and it's clear also that it really wouldn't have any effect on the brook levels. It's
No.
that's
really.
that's
But you
coming
wouldn't have
from
water
upstream.
flowing into it from that other pipe, so it would reduce it from that
Well,
point.
downstream,
Right.
typically just downstream. But we appreciate it, and certainly it seems like something that could effectively help limit some of the ponding in the street. Yeah.
I have one question. There's a huge variance in the estimated cost. Can you explain why? And is it because of the length of the pipe? Is there an easement required to be there? What is the cost issue? Because it went from 130. The last page was 130 to 360 or something.
Yeah, it's quite a big of a swing. We are what we would refer to as a 2% definition of the project. We know what we want to do, but we don't know even the size of the pipes that we need to put, how many structures, what are the how deep we need to dig,
The capacity of the pond.
capacity of the so there the permitting process. There's design. There's construction. We live in a very dynamic environment when it comes to inflation, cost of
Labor,
materials.
right.
If I had it my way, I'd probably add another, couple 100,000 just to be safe, because I'm here in front of you telling you a number, and I may have to come back and say, scratch that. It's some more. But we have to go through, preliminary design where we identify a number of those elements, and we can start converting.
Yeah.
It's just that, at this level of definition, which is very high. Very very high level. We just don't know the details enough.
And to be fair, we kept pushing them to attach some numbers to it in a
Right.
ballpark so we can kind of, put it in a generality so we know kind of what we're talking about here. Are these 40,000 or 4 million?
Yeah. My initial table had just dollar signs, like 4 versus 3 versus 2. I didn't like it, but
Very expensive and not so expensive.
Right,
I like
right.
it.
So the truth is, you cannot really formulate an estimate on any.
Until there's more
Yeah.
information.
Right.
Until there's more information.
Okay.
it's a decent guess, but don't hold me to an every.
Right, but I would tell you that underground detention, if the soil, I have learned a lot from Mike Nowak, and that is if it's clay soil, which a lot of that is, the underground detention, it does not percolate through,
Right.
and it will not work.
Right, but so with that, if we only rely on
Right.
on percolation, yes, but we would have an option of sending this water to Blind Brook when it's low, right? So if we space it at the right elevation and we fill it up with water, so long as the bottom is somewhere where eventually water in Blythe Brook gets lower, we can hold it for that day or two there. Water drops. We don't have to only rely on infiltration.
Right.
We can just open, kind of the bathtub and let it out, even pump it out if we wanted to. So there are options to mitigate that. I think that the bigger challenge is finding the right space.
There, right.
And,
Yeah.
Like,
and
for instance, the underground, the biggest underground detention project that we've been talking about is the Avon project, where we're trying to use the Portchester Middle School field for underground detention. So if you look at those big voids
That's the same
that
technology.
was in Peter's slides, that's what we're talking about with the middle school property, is
Got
lifting
it,
up
because
the
the
field and
field can
putting
be on top of it.
massive field
Yeah.
Right.
voids. Yeah.
it's the same technology.
Right, here you have
You got-
home.
you have space
Trying
under
to
a
Right, it
field.
won't work, right.
Funding for, yeah.
Interesting, okay.
Again, just another project that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I know, and I know, just from looking at the sign-in sheet, I know we have a lot of Brook Lane and Wyman Street residents here, and we wish we could provide more information on this. This is more conceptual and something that we're looking for, and we know that there is a deadline coming up in 4 days, and
Yeah. These are.
we're just trying to
And
provide.
this isn't
as-
going to eliminate flooding, but we're hoping to mitigate everywhere we can, like we've been trying to do in the past too.
Yeah, we're trying to provide as much information.
Any
as we
any
can.
improvement can help. We understand that.
Okay, but people want to speak.
And do we have any other
Oh.
other comments or questions from the board? All right. I mean, this really is just a presentation. It's not a public hearing, but certainly we're open to public comment if someone would like to ask a question or say. Just please, if you don't mind, to say or ask a question, just come up. If you come up to the podium and just state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Paul Williams from 11 Brook Lane. Obviously, we were one of the major victims on the 1st of September, 2.5 years ago. And I look at all of this and I see that these are all practical solutions, but they seem to be focused on drainage. 3 of the 4 solutions, the way I read it, is focused on drainage within Brook Lane. The issue on the 1st of September 2021 was not about drainage in Brook Lane. It was about a 4-foot wall of water out of the brook coming down Brook Lane. That's the issue. That's what needs to be addressed, in my opinion. I'm a layman.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that expertise, but looking at that, it seems to be addressing the drainage, which I'm not objecting to. But the major source of the flooding on the 1st of September in 2021 was the brook.
We agree with you.
Okay?
We agree with you 100%, and there's no question about that. And that's why we're continue to pursue the projects upstream to make a difference. And as we've all talked about, unfortunately, those solutions largely don't exist in Rye Brook, so we need the cooperation of other entities, whether it be Purchase College or Harrison or other officials. It's outside of Rye Brook borders. So what this was let's see if we could do something in the area to alleviate maybe some of the street flooding that happens that can't get out into the Brook Lane, which is full. Maybe we can redirect it, as one of the solutions was, maybe we could redirect it to eliminate some of that street flooding that comes in. So it's, again, this is under the theory of every bit helps,
And the last one seems like a great idea. But in my residence experience, it's not street flooding, it's the brook. And you can get rid of the street flooding. I'd love it because it comes out my driveway, but it doesn't come in the house. But when the brook did what it did in September 21, it gave us 4 feet of water in the house.
Yeah, and we're not giving up on those either. It's just those are harder roads with.
Deadline to get out of here by Friday and make a decision about getting out of here. So let's talk about a dilemma.
Yeah, and we all know, as we said, it needs the cooperation of other entities for those things to happen.
But we're in a position where we're being we are being asked to make a decision by Friday. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Please. Same thing. Yes.
Peter Corcoran, everybody knows me. Okay, Peter Corcoran, 14 Brook Lane. What you say, that's good, but not really. Basically, when water's going down the brook, if it's halfway up, and if the water goes from the street into it, it's like hitting a wall. We have one pipe that was put in, we went with Mike Nova way back when, and told him to put a Keeney wire in there. As long as the flow is moving in the brook, it'll suck it down. It used to flood before because the water would hit a 2-foot spot, 3-foot spot, and it couldn't go in, so it would flood the street. So I said, let's put another pipe in the street and put a Keeney Y. We have one in there, they can't put another Y. That would take all the rainwater, because you got Jean and Phyllis, 3 blocks, and you got Sunset that comes to one drain. Technically, it's 3 drains, but one drain goes to the other drain, then that drain comes across. And it goes into one 12-inch pipe that actually works. The other 12-inch pipe, once it goes 2 feet of water, it hits a wall. You know, highway traffic going like this, you can't get across. But if you got a Y on it, it sucks it down, okay? I said, let's put another pipe in there, or 2, so we can take the water off the street. That's the rainwater in the street that would help the neighborhood. The brook is another thing. That's all by itself. That's Harrison. The wall's falling down until they pick it up. It's a funnel. The water can't get in my backyard down the street. It comes up through the block, comes down the street, fills up the one drain that's only working with 12 inches, which is the capacity of water. We got 3 blocks. Can't take a 12-inch drain. Even sucking it down with the pipe makes no sense. Then they want to open up the bridge 50 feet. That would help with the flow. But if we don't fix the backyard where the wall's down and the water level's up, because now it's shallower, it's up 3 feet more, and it's 9 feet closed in, because the whole wall collapsed. What do we do?
Again, I agree with you that Harrison needs to enforce that property. Unfortunately, we can't do it.
So when the houses are torn down, the houses are gonna be taken away, are we gonna put extra drains in the street to go from the street to stop coming down to our block and suck into the brook? I don't care if the brook's up 5 feet. The rainwater in the streets, we've got 2 problems. The brook and the street. So when you take down a house, are we gonna put a storm drain in there to go into the brook with an elbow, so it goes down to Rye? I don't care about Rye.
Are we
I don't
allowed
care
to
about
do
me.
that?
I'm just saying, are we gonna do something with that, or we're just gonna leave empty properties?
After we know who's participating, then we have to design what we're going to have on those underneath those properties.
Yeah, we'll be, once
Once we know who's
everything
participating,
is-
then we'll know.
Yeah, once we know who's participating, then a design
For instance,
firm is hired.
We've
to-
even talked to the NRCS about could we do some of those underground detention even on some of those properties that are vacant? You know, could we do it underneath? Well, I'm saying is those are some of the things that's some of the things we're exploring with them.
It just goes into the brook. That's a lot less money
It can be, but
to be done.
just also make sure there's something we have to. I'm not an engineer. That's that way we're going to rely on the engineers we have. But at least the 2 that you are tonight. You also like the 2 pipes. What he was saying today was the 2 pipes that were there under. But even if the 2 were working, they're undersized for the need that you need to have there.
Right.
Right.
So that's what we're looking at now.
Okay, so can I meet up with him at another time?
Of course,
I just-
we can connect you.
I can't move. I can't
No, we
move.
can connect
I'm
you.
not giving my house away with a buyout. I can't.
I understand. That's
I mean, I'm not-
totally
I'm
voluntary.
not sitting here trying to, I'm just trying to live. I go to work, I come home.
We're trying to,
family,
Peter,
that's all.
and Peter, we're trying to help.
Yes, we're doing everything we can.
I'm not closed off to any ideas that would help.
Because when it rained, 6 months ago, and the whole.
I know the village board, myself, Michael, we're not opposed to any idea if it's shown to help.
Right, and everything that we've looked into, everything that we've participated in, is really just trying to find solutions. That's all we can do.
I'm just trying to,
Right. No, and I understand.
every time it rains, I just
I understand.
have nothing. I'm just, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
Hi, my name is Lorena Stevens and I live on 16 Brook Lane. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing because, obviously we're all interested. Unfortunately, what kind of bothers me a little bit is the fact that I know you're waiting for people to say, what they want to do with the buyout. Unfortunately, the buyout, it's not something, nobody's happy with the buyout, except maybe a couple of people on the street, because they have, like you mentioned before, different situations, and everyone has their personal and different situation. And so that's good for them, because maybe they've been there, they found something else, they're a different, moment in life where they can move on and do other things. There are some of us that, my personal situation, it's also very difficult. I have a daughter with a disability. You met her, Michaela. We were here with the dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. And it's very difficult for us to find another home that's accessible. The buyout right now, I personally think, and a lot of us think that it's not unfair as far as what you're trying to do. It's just a loss for everyone, because people are accepting the buyout because they fear that there are no other solutions. They fear that they can't sell their homes, and they fear that nothing is going to happen, and they're afraid of the flood, obviously, right? So I think, actually, I put my house for sale just to find out and see if it is sellable, if there are people interested in buying in that area. Obviously, you have to disclose, that there is a flood problem, and they all know. And to be honest with you, we actually got several offers, over 100,000 more than the buyout. So people are willing to come and buy regardless of the flood, and they're like, well, we have insurance. That's the attitude. Of course, if you haven't lived it like we did, it's different. So I feel that a lot of us, that probably will accept the buyout, are doing it only for fear. They feel so it's at a loss, because at the moment right now, whatever they're offering, even if it's a generous offer, it's not enough to replace the house that we have right now. And in this market especially, because the rates are much higher, and so if you want to buy the same house in the same area, which everyone loves to stay in Rybrook, it's impossible. And you would have to spend a lot more. And so I feel that now you're waiting to see how many people are participating to find other solutions, because you think, maybe if there are a lot of people living, we can use that area to drain whatever, you're trying to do. But for us, we are waiting to see if there are other solutions before we decide to take the loss, because it really is. Personally, I refused the offers. We had 5 offers for my house, and we decided not to take them because, like I said, for me, it's very difficult to find an accessible home. My daughter can walk in, or a bathroom that's downstairs and a room that's downstairs. It's just the house is a good house for us. And of course, after the flood, we had to redo everything, so everything is new. So I can't find a house like that, not only for just whatever they are offering for the buyout, but even when people offer more than the asking price, there is nothing out there for us. And I know we're all in the same situation, maybe for different reasons, obviously. So I feel that, trying to do something, whatever, I think some of these ideas are not bad, even starting from the last one that they, presented. And I know you say, yes, this is only for our little area, and I agree, because the flood came from, it wasn't just the brook, it was the brook, but it came from way higher than that, because the water came from both sides, not just the brook, but also the street. And so it obviously came over the brook on, further up from Brook Lane. So probably this problem, yes, it will not solve that problem, because you still have all the water there that needs to drain after it comes in a situation like that, which it's strange to me that in 2 years after that, with all the rain that we had, nothing even similar came, and that happened only in 2 hours. So I'm sure that there was some other issues upstream that caused the water to do what it did. But so I just feel like, we really need to, and not only, this is another issue that I have with this, is the fact that taking the buyout, and we are here, only the people that were offered the buyout are here. But I know that there are a lot of residents of the whole area, not just Brook Lane, but also Phyllis and the other streets there. They are very concerned because taking the buyout means also changes the market. So it will show that these homes have sold for a price, which was a price of 2.5 years ago. And so it lowers the value of the homes that are there. And now they're all scared. They're all scared that they won't be able to sell their homes at a right price because, they feel like now you're going to have, 4, 5, 6 different lots that are going to be empty. Who wants to come and live there, seeing that there's only a few homes there and there's empty lots around. So it creates a lot of other issues for people that actually are trying, willing to stay, but trying to find other solutions. So that's what I feel, and I wanted to share that. So just to kind of give you an idea that not everyone, even if you get more people that accept the buyouts, trust me, I would talk to everybody on the street, and they are only doing it because they're scared, and they're not, they're not happy. They're doing it at a loss. It's not helping. I'm just saying, it's helping for the people that like it, and if they'll take it, it's only because they're afraid. That's all. And so it is a loss for all of us here. So I'm sorry.
Thank you for your thoughts. A couple of comments that I just have. Like I've said previously, and like Chris has said, really we're just trying to find any solution that we can, and we're looking at all different possibilities, both for this area, for the upstream and downstream. So we're looking, and on the other branch.
And those meetings continue throughout with the state, with the federal government, and City of Rye, Village of Rye, Brook. We all participate in regular every other month meetings. We've done several reports, but all we're trying to do here is provide options. And nobody is telling somebody you need to accept a buyout or don't accept the buyout. That's your personal choice, and those are hard decisions. So what we're trying to do also, though, is we have projects identified that would help upstream. And whether it be in Harrison or Purchase College, there is projects. It's just we don't control those properties, so we need cooperation. But there are projects that would absolutely help the properties downstream, including Brook Lane, including Wyman Street. We met with Purchase College over and over, with the City of Rye, with the state, and we just kept. They dug in and said they weren't willing to do it. Now, maybe over time, or maybe with other officials saying that you have to do it from Albany, that would be helpful, and we're not giving up on those types of decisions. But that would definitely help. So this study was more to say, how can we help with the street flooding? How can we do something that's within Rye Brook that we can do on our own? We don't have to rely on municipalities that are outside of our jurisdiction.
Yeah. And I would say also, regarding the buyout program, this was an opportunity that came our way, was brought to our attention. We applied for it as a village because we thought it gave people options, and that's really what we were looking for.
And it has for those that want
was
to.
Was to just give more options, and it was just another project that we thought could help. And I would say that it has to follow the regulations that are assigned to it, and a lot of it is out of our control. Where we hire people to look at the engineering, we hire people to look at the appraisals. A lot of those appraisals were above the assessed value, and then a very difficult decision is presented to people, and we understand it's a very difficult decision.
And I think what we could say for sure is, for those that want to continue to stay here, we're going to continue to work as hard as we can to find alternatives to help the situation for those that remain.
Yeah, and that being said, obviously we wish we could have gotten higher values for for people, but that's out of our hands. And, this is a unique opportunity, a unique program, that unfortunately is reaching the point of deadline. We also wish we could push it, and we have pushed it farther along, because some of the deadlines were supposed to be earlier than this. but we had all the deadlines moved to March 16th.
Originally, they said most of the other places are doing 30 days. We
Right.
extended it 2 times from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and unfortunately, it is getting to the point where it is the decision time, and we don't know whether we'd be able to get an opportunity like this again.
No.
But again, as Chris said, we're looking at all options. It's something that we think about regularly, we think about often. It's not something that's on the back burner. It's not something that's been pushed to the side. This is something that we're actively looking at regularly. As you can tell from the current program, other anything from the stream gauge monitoring to this presentation that was just given. This is something that we are actively looking into solutions.
Not just here, but anywhere in the village. There's other areas of the village that also have flooding. So we have an active project we've received half the funding for to help Avon Circle, where they flooded, where we have something in cooperation with the Westchester School District to help there on the middle school field to help retain. And actually, we're starting over by Rich Manor Park. We're looking at that again. We just got a grant actually to help look at some of the information there to say what else could we do there. We did a lot of projects. We built a big detention basin there where there was room on village property, but now we're taking another look at that area and said, what else could we do? We're never just kind of saying, well, we already looked at that. We're saying, what else could we do? It's been some time. Let's look at it again.
Right. Unfortunately, the water is the new normal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we are obviously not in control of that.
Yeah, we're seeing greater and
Right,
more
it's-
frequent storms.
Right, it's not a 1 year, you had a list there, you had a 1 year storm, a 5 year storm, a 10 year storm. We are getting those on a regular basis.
Yeah, and
Within
and
a
that's not
year.
just for here, that's this whole area in the
Right,
northeast.
right, it's not just your streets,
The
it's,
whole world, well, certain areas of it, some are getting less, but yeah, I mean, for example, the last storm that we had, less than a week ago, was 2.2 inches. Because we have a monitor here at Village Hall that records it.
And on Brook Lane now, too.
did the, we have, you said we have a Brook monitor, I remember we passed that a while
We
ago.
have a stream
That-
gauge.
The stream gauge, has that gone off? Has
So we
that-
have 2 things we installed down on Brook Lane. So we installed a rain gauge to measure the rain that collects on Brook Lane. So we have one on top of Village Hall, and now we also have one on Brook Lane over Westchester Avenue. But what that also does is that's a warning system where we have engineered through Peter has set engineering presets for us now to get different warnings at different levels of height. So we're just in a beta test with that internally before we can release it out to the residents, and then they're going to get access to the same information that we have in terms of warnings.
All right, so I know that will be
We just want to
very
make sure everything's
helpful.
working well before
Right,
we do
of
that.
course.
Do we have anyone else that wants
But
to
my
speak?
point was that we have been moving
Oh,
forward.
yeah. No, it's installed and all good.
All right, well,
Thank you.
we appreciate you coming. Thank
Do
you,
you wanna
Peter,
say
for,
anything else?
for the
Thank you, Peter.
presentation. We appreciate it
Thank
and
you.
all the work that's being done. And thank you all for coming to listen to this. Sure, and just related to go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know some of you have expressed dissatisfaction with the amount that you've been offered for your house. Please understand, if you don't already, the money is not coming out of Rybrook's budget. We have no incentive to lowball you. This is coming out of the federal government's purse. And so there's nothing we can do if the money is not satisfactory. I thought the purpose of the information tonight is for those of you who are not sure what to do. If you want a reason to be optimistic, you have to digest what you learned and say, in the short run, are things going to get better? Or am I going to have to go through this over and over again? Is it worth it? And I can't answer for you. I don't have an answer. Each of you has a different situation, as you said. And everybody has to figure it out for themselves.
I'm not complaining about the amount, because like I said, even with $100,000 more, I still can't, afford to buy
Right.
another house for us. So it's not the amount of money that's being offered.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for coming out. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to maybe less serious matters. Well, certainly less serious matters. So moving on with our agenda, moving on to resolution number 1, considering a modification of the license and fee schedule for tennis and pickleball.
Bertie, you want to come up and start setting up? So now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves modifying the village license and fee schedule for both tennis and pickleball programs by modifying the following fees. And what this is changing all the current fee structure to doing just one. We're recommending that the board consider one rate for residents, just $75 basically for the year, non-resident for $200 with very limited non-resident permits, so that we encourage more use by the residents. Senior resident of $50 for the year, junior membership $50 for the year, and family membership for $150 for the year. If you don't mind, if the board would gratefully consider a motion in a second, we can then talk about why we're recommending this increase or this change. It's not an increase. Why we're recommending this change and what we're implementing to make it easier for residents to play tennis and pickleball.
All right, can I have a motion in second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, now we can open it for discussion. And any
Well, if you don't
change.
mind, let
and
Bert
and just as a quick, and we'll let her present. Just as a quick comment on this, typically we do these fee schedules as part of the budget process, but we have to start advertising and we have to start. So that's why we're having this discussion now instead of as part of the budget process.
And we're also, and we're also implementing this court reserve program, and we need a different way for people to look at it and sign up for it. And it's a lot easier way to sign up, not just for the courts, but also to make the payment and to restrict it to residents.
Right, and so that's why we're having this conversation now and not April 1st or April 8th.
Yes, we'd have
which
to
is
wait for.
typically when we would have this conversation, but that's a few weeks from now, maybe too late.
Yes.
Okay, so if we can go into, I understand that the fees are really the discussion here.
Let's let them.
It is,
present
but they
first.
kind of go hand in hand on why
Let's-
and
Right.
why we need the program to work with the fees.
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
let's
Sure, go ahead.
go ahead, Bert.
So basically, this is a fee that's going to cover both tennis and pickleball. So the fees are the same for both. Typically, in the past, there's been a tennis fee, which was a yearly fee for the permit, and pickleball was done on a monthly basis. So we're looking to combine them both, make it a simple process for both. So people will have the ability to reserve either a pickleball court or a tennis court, basically up to the hour. So in the past, it's been you had to reserve a court on the prior day prior to 3 p.m., which was a problem for a lot of the residents. So this gives you access on your phone to prove your reservation when you show up to the court. So if someone's on the court, they would have to leave the court because you have proof that you have a reservation for your time on that court. All of our courts are listed on this app, so you can pick your court, whatever court you want to sign up for when it's available. As you can see, I put in some sample reservations in there. You all are in there. So you're all playing on there at one point or another. So if you wanted to show up at a court now, the courts are closed. So you would have to go the next day, which is tomorrow. Let's see. So tomorrow, you would have to show up. There's a couple of reservations for tomorrow.
There I am. I'm playing doubles at 10.
That's right.
There we go.
So there's a couple of reservations for tomorrow. The rest of the days are
And David.
You can
Are
reserve
all
for an hour and a
available.
half?
Somebody could take my spot.
Reserve for an hour and a half?
no, they're going to be for an hour.
Thank you, okay.
They're going to be for an hour. We have to adjust that back down to an hour.
Thank you.
It's
You
just
need
the
to
setting.
enter the names of who you're playing with?
So why don't you show? He's going to show you.
I'll take you through a typical. So let me get out. This is the administrative portion. So this is.
There's less fields and everything else. It's very simple on the app when you do it on your phone. There's only like 3 choices.
So as you can see, if you you wanna book a court, you just go to book a court. And it's gonna show you all the courts.
And the availability.
And the availability. So,
Move to tomorrow.
is that what I did?
Let's move to tomorrow.
There you go.
There we go.
So let's pick a court. So we'll take.
See, Susan. So watch this, Susan. As you can see, just pick a time.
So you just pick a reservation type, it's either singles or doubles. So, let's pick doubles.
Does it really matter? I guess it doesn't
And then you
matter.
can put your additional players, so additional players would be players that are in the system.
Oh, they'd have to be in the system. Can you put guests? Are we, do we
Yes.
allow?
It says
that?
right
Yep,
there.
you can do gas.
Number of guests, got it.
You pick a person that's in there, so for the sake of the people that are in there,
Kathy.
It populates.
Kathy's already in.
You ready, jitter? Just do that. That's
We're not in
fine.
there 'cause we don't have.
Well, we must be in there. We were listed.
Oh yeah, do we get permits?
no.
Do we get those?
So this is court serve,
Court reserve.
court reserve, so.
Okay, so number of guests, so this is doubles, so we're gonna want 2 more guests. So then you pick a couple of names,
It's pickle.
So
Well, you have to do number.
you
two
enter
guests.
people's names.
you enter people's names.
Okay.
Okay, and there's a fee
There's a
associated.
fee associated,
Okay, so that's easy.
$5 per
Okay.
guest,
Oh.
which is charged to the permit holder.
Got
What,
it.
so if
Do you
you,
have to pay by credit card or do you,
You can
get
do it
like
right
a
through the
bill?
app if you want.
Your
Yep.
credit card is in the system, so it's
Oh.
automatically gonna take it.
credit card is in the system?
Well, it's an option for you. You can pay for it online,
Or you can just pay for it as a, just each time. You
Or
have
I
to
can
enter
bill
your,
or you could bill.
yeah.
You
But
don't
some
have to
people
do
want
that.
to.
I think some
Huh?
people
But some
are
people,
not.
if they don't want to do
Okay,
it,
what,
through their
Paul,
phone.
your plan. You enter in your
I
name.
feel like that
what does the app look like? If I'm downloading it, I want to see it.
Well, you won't be able to get to ours because it's not live yet.
I
but-
understand.
All right.
So
So I mean, the system makes sense. This
it's
I
is
think
very
that's
simple.
easier.
It's
and
very
and like
simple.
you said, it's up to an hour
You
beforehand.
go right up to a
The
court, see it's
Simpsons,
available.
you can just-
Yeah.
And so your name has to be a
Check.
registered user in order
And that's
for
how
it
we
to-
prevent people who aren't registered or
booking
non-residents.
a
Not in
court.
here,
And
though.
we have leagues
Not gonna
booking
be
courts
easy
right
to
now in
find.
our courts.
There we go.
Right.
When people
Yeah,
sign
this
up,
is great. So
Yeah.
we have to right.
people
So
register for their permit, it has to be approved by the rec department.
right.
So we're gonna have a limited number of non-resident permits. Obviously, we're charging a lot more for non-residents,
Right.
and we're going to kind of limit the way they can reserve these time slots.
Right.
And we are going to make it very difficult for those people that are giving us a difficult time right now.
We have leagues that are coming on saying, "Oh, Rybrook doesn't charge. Rybrook has courts," and they're booking for months ahead,
Right.
reserving
No, I
courts,
know.
not through us, but on their own sites.
Right.
So
So
you can't do that.
no.
And now we'll be able to have the proof.
They're
where
running
they can
leagues
come
saying,
down
yeah.
and- no, you showed me.
Yeah.
And I saw it. I looked at those, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And to say the least. And now we'll have this to be able to enforce it at the way that we would otherwise. But we'll be able to.
And we're thinking a very reasonable fee that's
Yeah.
less than what, $8 a month, and then you basically go up with your phone. You could push the court that you want. You'll reserve it, and you have right on your phone showing, nope,
Right.
this
And
is my
it's an
court.
easier
And the
system.
idea,
It's-
Yeah,
and the
very
idea
easy.
is for this to be, something for residents to be using.
Yes, yeah.
For the most part, that's what this is. And then I'm assuming, for the companies that have booked it out, that
They'll
we
lock
have
out
the
the
agreements
times.
with.
Yeah.
They'll block out the times of where it
For
is.
example, from 3 to 6, from from beginning of April through the end of May, 3 to 6, Harkness Park and Pine Ridge Park are locked off for the high school tennis teams.
Right.
So that's already it's already locked out.
Yeah.
Right.
We have our tennis lessons that are blocked off.
Right.
Right.
So all those will already be pre.
Right.
What
I
about
just- I
what
think
about the
similar
other people that are taking court time that are teaching? What other relationships do we have?
Well, last summer, we had someone that rented our facility to teach lessons, so that we would have to figure out, I think we guaranteed him 2 courts, so that would be the same. We would block off 2 courts if he decided to do it again, for the summer.
So if he did it, you'd have 2 courts, and then somebody else could reserve the court right next to him. And that's
Where are
it.
these courts? These are
No.
Harkness?
Those are at
Oh, no,
Pine
I'm not
Ridge.
talking about, right, we're tennis
So
and
you'd lock
pickle.
out, yeah, so you'd lock out a court. But either way, you're locking it in for whatever you want to do.
I love the fact that we did amend it so that way people can do it up to the hour. I think that is what I ask, and I really appreciate it. I think it gives our residents the most flexibility.
And I think it's nice that you have proof right on your phone.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, so are we having attendance?
Bigger people.
Are we doing attendance?
That we could talk about budget time. You may not need to have them now.
Right, okay, because you
The
have
only
proof.
the only thing, yeah, at least you would be able to. We'll talk about budget, but
I
you don't
think we
have. You don't
still
have
need-
to.
No,
Huh?
I just want to think
Well,
about it.
to resolve disputes potentially.
It'll either resolve disputes,
He's a
also
senior.
walk on fees, stuff like
And we
that.
only
If
do it
people
on the
do it,
weekends
yeah,
anyway.
it's up.
Yeah.
We'll have that discussion in the
Okay.
work
On
session.
the April 1st or 8th.
Yeah.
But-
What constitutes a senior?
60 and over.
60?
Woohoo!
So I think, you know, I've used similar systems to this.
This is a really
And
popular
it's-
system.
I've used similar systems to this. It's effective. I find it's user friendly. It's a good thing to have. I think we're probably all in agreement.
Yes.
Not that there's joy of use of the system, and now the discussion is the fees because we're looking at changing the fees.
Correct.
Okay, my other question is, are we able to integrate the school courts, or is that separate?
What school? You mean Harkness?
No, behind the elementary.
As long as the school is okay with that, we
Yeah,
could
we'd
add their
have to
courts.
work that in.
I can add courts.
You can, or,
could add
Yeah,
courts.
we can add,
Sure.
we'd be able to add courts.
Okay.
Just
Once
gonna be
those
an
are
additional
operational
fee
and-
in the structure, and I left a little room for flexibility.
So say the school says you can only have the court from X time to X time. We just block out the other times, and here's where you
Right.
do it.
Okay,
And we'd be able to have that on this system.
right, that's, okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you go, so I just
So
want to
you're
make
not you're not
sure.
booking that court for a weekday in May at 1:00 in the afternoon.
No, that is not, I understand.
Right.
When the kids are playing.
Yeah, when the kids are during recess, right?
Things could change come budget time as well with new facilities and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is all right. So
All right,
So-
excellent.
so regarding the fee structures, I think my personal opinion is that it does make sense to condense it into one fee
Yeah.
because, you know, there's just too much going on.
Exactly.
And what we're finding also is that we're adding, you know, we're continually adding pickleball courts, and converting some, and so this just becomes much more user friendly, and certainly staff friendly, in having the one. My personal opinion is I'm good with these fees as they're listed. I don't think it really is anything, you know, onerous on anyone. I don't think, you know, you're not talking about a lot of money.
You break it down per month.
Okay,
It's
so I have
pretty
a-
reasonable.
The
Yeah, it's very
pickleball
What
fee,
about if anyone who volunteers for our community gets like
Nope.
10 free guest passes? No, I'm not saying for us. I'm saying gets 10 free like anyone who's a volunteer and like contributes
right, we
gets
need,
10
yeah,
free guest
we do
passes.
need a reason
I think
to
that's
get-
a separate.
People on
as
our
long as you do it by
commissions.
resolution, it's okay.
I think that's a separate conversation. For now, let's focus on the resolution in front of us.
April 1st or April 8th, I think.
I just have a question.
Yeah, that's an April 1 or 8 conversation.
Is there a,
Bring that up. Bring
is
that
there a
up.
gap in between
You
here?
know my
Because
answer.
this is not starting until, you're saying that it's gonna start March till Thanksgiving?
Yes.
But the pickleball season, is they're currently playing, or?
No,
how are
that's
you-
that's the annual because we take down the tennis nets outside of those months. There's no tennis nets to sign up for.
Right, okay.
Right.
Pickleball we'll be able to do any time of the year.
Okay,
And we're looking to go live with this April 1st.
right,
Great.
great. Yeah, so
Any
we,
other questions?
so that actually can be a discussion at the Rybrook Fit Walk.
That's right. A
You
table.
can sign up
You
that
could,
day.
you
Sign
know
up.
what could be in the raffle? Free passes and a free membership.
That's right. There you go.
That could be one of the raffles.
That could be a
Susan.
raffle.
I haven't been working on any raffles, but thank you.
Did you have a comment? Please, you have to come up and just state. Yeah, if you come up and just state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Kevin Zusi, live at 16 Sleepy Hollow Road. 16 Sleepy Hollow Road in Rybrook. This is cool. I didn't know that we had this. Great to know. I look forward to using it. I just had a couple questions, just overhearing. The first one, if there are non-residents that are booking right now for months in advance, how are we actually going to like enforce getting them off the courts? Like if I book, I can show them the app. They can be like, "What are you talking about? I booked this months in advance on this other thing." Like, is there someone actually there who's gonna?
There isn't, but the Rybrook Police will also have access to the app. So if someone gives you a hard time on the court, you can call the police department. I'll list the number out at the court, and they'll come and they'll take care of the dispute.
At certain times we do have attendance.
And which also, if people are signing up for booking months in advance right now as part of a league, you can call the police now if that's happening and you see them there, because we haven't authorized that.
Right.
Wait, so
Correct.
shouldn't we let them know that
We
now
have.
we're?
We have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are several apps where people can sign up, by the way, for court time.
Yeah. Which is unauthorized. And
Yes.
these are our courts.
Right. I think that we need some sort of signage. I think that we have to put out some sort of
sign.
clear and
Yeah, let people
thorough
know where to sign
language
up.
that the residents are
Also.
aware that this is what
Yeah.
we're doing to
Also,
protect them.
obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
can.
think we have to work on
And
that.
we'll put out- once
to your
everything's
point, how do
going
you
up,
think
we'll
the
put out
best way to
community.
get this out? Since you think that this is
Yeah,
an issue?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know that we had courts at Pine Ridge Park, so this is news to me. I was just thinking that it could be an issue if there were people that were booking separately.
Yeah.
But signage sounds good. Knowing that you can call the police department even though it's not.
The non-emergency number.
Yeah, non-emergency number, yeah. So that sounds great.
Great.
And then I had one other question. You mentioned the credit card storage. I was just wondering, just so that the town doesn't get opened up to liability.
Right.
Like we're not actually storing the actual credit card info, right? Because then we'd have to go through PCI compliance.
Not 100% sure about that. I think they're only storing the last 4 digits of your number.
Okay.
in
Where
the system.
everything goes through our cyber consultant and our IT staff. So that's what we set it up, and we have outside consultants to help us to make sure our cyber security is secure.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions, comments?
No, it's great. Thank you.
Nope, great.
All right. All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. We look forward to seeing this in action.
Yeah.
And
We can-
making sure that authorized users are using our courts.
If you see my name on it, you know it will not have.
We'll know it's not. We'll know that it's a fraud.
I'll take your name off, okay?
Please.
Throw mine in there.
All right, moving on. Resolution number 2, considering the conditional appointment of a park groundskeeper.
Resolved that Ralph DeRosa of 20 Highview Avenue, Rybrook, New York, is hereby conditionally appointed to the position of park groundskeeper with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the results of a medical exam and civil service procedures of the state of New York, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $60,977 with an effective start date of April 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
And I'm assuming you guys are here for a reason. And Joe and
Paul
Pat
dozing
and Paul
back
is
there.
Do
Taking a nap.
Yeah,
you
we
want
are.
to say anything?
And while he's coming up, we'll say, Ralph did a great job in his interviews. We're very happy to welcome here to Rybrook. He's been working with Belfamonte Landscaping as a foreman. He also has experience working in the town of Greenberg. And we're very excited. Rybrook resident. We're very happy to have him joining us.
Yes, good evening, people of the council. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity, for giving me the chance to work for the Village of Rybrook. I'm very excited and looking forward to it, and working very hard for this village and for the years to come, and doing my best here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
team.
we-
Welcome.
Yeah, and it's we appreciate there's one thing that you said that I certainly appreciate, and that's for years to come. And when, we really like that. And we'd like to say congratulations and welcome to the Village of Rybrook. I think you'll find it a great place to work and a great community. So that you know already.
Thank you.
Come on, Bert. You come up at least.
Yeah. Come on, Paul. Paul, come on.
Paul, the photograph can't get any worse with Bert up there.
Whoa.
Ouch.
Wow.
Definitely gonna take your name off.
That's what I'm hoping.
All right. So I think we have a motion and we had a motion and a second.
We did. We
Do you
did.
mind calling
Sure.
roll?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome.
Congratulations and thank you.
Yes.
See
Well
you
done.
around.
All right.
All right,
Resolution.
bye. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Sorry to make you wait so long.
How are you? How's the baby?
I know.
2?
Bye.
We are just booked our first trip to Disney World, which should be fun.
2-year-old?
Yeah, 2.5.
Oh yeah, fun.
You're like glad those days are. Yeah.
I think you've never been to Disney World.
It would almost be like going with a 15-year-old. That's equally as trauma causing.
All right. Back to business. All right.
Yeah.
Resolution. I think we're on 3.
Yes.
Resolution number 3, considering an amended agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Village of Westchester. What? And the County of Westchester?
County of
I'm guessing?
Westchester,
I'm
yeah.
guessing.
Just your count.
For a CDBG grant for AJP Senior Center Walkway and Boiler.
Whereas on January 10th of 2023, the board approved the agreement with Westchester County for $50,000 from CDBG funding for the AJP Community Center to renovate the existing walkway and boiler. And whereas Rybrook has requested additional CDGB funds from the county to offset additional costs associated with the walkway and boiler. And whereas the county has approved providing the village with an additional $50,250 for a total of $100,250 provided through the CDBG program. And whereas Rybrook must agree to the terms and conditions stipulated by the county to receive the additional grant funding, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the amended agreement with the Westchester County for additional CDBG funding for the AJP Community Center to offset costs from this exterior walkway and boiler project subject to modification by council. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
No, I'm really happy.
Thank you to
that
Westchester.
You're getting
Yes.
this done. Thank you.
Yes, we really appreciate the additional funding.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
And this was certainly a very good project. And we're happy that there are no more change orders on our
Yeah, that's right.
agendas.
And that project's really just completing all the paperwork. So that'll provide, this actually, because we've done some other transfers to provide the excess costs that we had, so you already had done that. So this actually creates a surplus, which we're now going to transfer over to the other project, which is the other CDBG project.
Which
for
is the next
the
on
HVAC
agenda,
equipment.
So we have to get through this first.
Exactly.
All
So once
right.
we know the end, how much we'll have, because we may have some left over too from the amount that was in the project, we'll
Right.
transfer the whole thing over.
Okay.
So this has nothing to do with the grant part of it. This is separate. The
No, these are, we just got
This is
another $50,250 in
Through
grant
the-
money on top of the other
from
50.
the company that we have looking at grants for us. That's my question.
Yeah, this was CDBG,
So
so.
it's separate.
Separate.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure who I'm
Yes.
giving accolades to.
No, this
But
one's,
it's always to you. Thank you, and to you. Thank you.
And let's also thank Michael too. He's been
yeah.
doing a lot of work on this
Ah,
as well.
okay.
Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. I think Michael just likes getting mentioned at every meeting. Okay.
Where did he go?
All right, so resolution number 4, considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and the
Village of-
County of Westchester, Westchester County, for another community development block grant funding for AJP Senior Center HVAC this time.
Okay, whereas Rybrook seeks to renovate the HVAC system at AJP, and whereas Rybrook has applied to the CDBG grant for offsetting our costs, and whereas the county's approved an application for funding for $50,000 for the walkway and boiler, for the walkway and boiler, covering the rest of the total estimated project cost of $225, and whereas Rybrook must agree to the terms and conditions stipulated by the county, and therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves the agreement with Westchester County for CDBG funding for the AJP Community Center to renovate the HVAC system, subject to modification by council. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Second.
Is it in the third whereas?
The third whereas I'm going to modify.
Should be the
I know the
HVAC.
intent,
Should-
but because the other money, the $50,000, this was some confusion with the county too.
Okay.
The $50,000 went towards the boiler and
Boiler.
walkway, which cost us over $200. So that's why by giving us the other $50, they covered half our cost, which is
Right.
most they can do.
Okay.
So this is just funding with $50,000.
I like
Just say stop it at $50,000.
right?
Right. Okay.
Just leave it at that.
Chris, I like the fact that you called it the AJP Community Center, not Senior Center.
Right.
That is well. That technically
I
is
think
what
that
it is.
something we should be working on. But okay, another time.
Now that you're a senior.
Earlier
I've been a
today-
senior for a little while.
Enough to get a permit. Enough to get a senior permit.
Actually, you can be, just so everybody knows, you can be at the AJP Community Center
Community Center.
if you're 55 or older.
Oh,
So you make
That
it.
is, I've
You just
been
barely
there a
make
long
it.
time.
wow, I'm gonna be
Right.
there
Well,
soon.
anyone can be at the
Couple
community
years.
center or at least rent the space. It's not.
Right.
That's right, and everybody should be utilizing
All right.
that.
Any questions or comments related solely to this resolution before us? Okay.
Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 5, considering an agreement. Considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and DTS
Provident.
Provident
We're done.
Design
Yeah.
Engineering for a traffic engineering study.
You can tell it's budget
along
season.
along North Ridge Street and Crawford Park.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to find ways to improve vehicle traffic safety on North Ridge Street in the vicinity of Crawford Park, and whereas Rybrook seeks to have a traffic study conducted to provide recommendations on feasibility safety improvement measures, and whereas Rybrook has received a proposal from DTS Provident Design Engineering to provide traffic engineering services, including but not limited to observe driver behavior and collect data to obtain roadway data and site distance, conduct a review of how practical it is for the crosswalk along with other related safety measures, and provide recommendations and a layout where it is most feasible to implement recommended applicable measures. And whereas Rybrook is interested in entering into the agreement with DTS Provident Design Engineering to provide traffic engineering services at a cost of $3,000, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed agreement, subject to any modification by council, between Rybrook and DTS Provident Design Engineering to provide traffic engineering services, including, and then listing what their responsibilities are once again, and be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can
Wherever
I
we saw Provident, we're going to capitalize.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Second.
And in recent meetings, we've had conversation about this topic, and we've talked about looking into this traffic study. This is just formalizing it so that we can move.
Yeah, and
forward.
actually, we had a prior proposal, but it was $5,000 or $6,000.
It's over
so
$6,000, I think.
yeah, so we sought out another traffic engineering firm. Actually, the people that did the work on Hawthorne, and Brian Dempsey, and he's said he could start on it right away.
Great.
That's great. I know that Mr. Laranga will be very, very pleased that this is going to happen, so thank you.
And we actually we had gotten a proposal like literally a long time ago, but it was just so expensive. Remember I said that last meeting. So
Right.
it's good. It kind of re-energized it, and we got another look. We had another proposal, and there was a lot less money too.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering the adoption of local adjustments for homestead and non-homestead base proportions.
Okay, whereas in 2005, the board adopted a local law establishing the regarding home-based proportions, and whereas the town of Rye Assessor has prepared homestead and non-homestead base proportions for the village of Rye Brook's review, and whereas on March 12th, 2024, the town board of the town of Rye adopted a resolution that establishes 2 separate rates. One is for the homestead base proportion at a rate equal to 78.787636, and 2, the non-homestead portion at 21.212364, and authorize the town assessor to file a statement of locally determined homestead base proportions pursuant to the real property tax law, and based on the 2023 assessment roll, which has now been verified and filed, and for the 2020 be used for the 2024-25 village budget and tax rates. And whereas the village board of trustees, the board of trustees of the village of Rye Brook also wishes to concur and adopt the local adjustments to these homestead-based proportions that will be used to establish these rates and used for this upcoming budget season. Now therefore be resolved that the board of trustees of the village of Rye Brook hereby concurs with the town of Rye and adopts the fiscal year 2024 village tax purposes a homestead-based proportion at a rate equal to basically 78.78 and non-homestead equal to 21.21. Be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary for the purpose of this resolution. And be it further resolved, the town assessor and tax collector are authorized and directed to make any filings on behalf of Rye Brook and to take any additional actions necessary to implement the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second?
So moved.
Second.
I would have a comment and a question. The first comment, just for those listening at home or in attendance, is that this is out of our hands. This is not something that we set. This is set by the town of Rye. And the question is, Chris, do we know how this compares to last year's?
Yeah, it definitely shifts more towards residential,
Excuse me.
which is
Sorry
which
about
is the way it's supposed to work.
Right, they're supposed to.
They're supposed to come closer together.
Closer together, yeah.
So it definitely shifts more heavier to the residential side of it, but nowhere near what it is actually. So, and the only other comment I make, and this is typical, we've always adopted the homestead-based proportions that are most advantageous to the residential, the homestead properties.
Right.
But the board does have the flexibility to blend them more together if you so choose.
Right, and I think we stick with tradition there
Yep.
in
We've always
trying
done
to have it as beneficial to the homestead proportions. But at the same time, we're also working diligently to try and encourage development within the village of Rye Brook for the non-homestead, taxpayers, and because they are residents also, and so we want to try and keep that in mind. And certainly, the more non-homestead properties we have, the more that it's spread among those, and so we hope to see development at Doral, former Doral. What's the address? Anderson Hill Road.
Yeah, Anderson Hill Road.
And at 900 King, and we hope to see a reopening of the Hilton and all of these other potentials that we've seen or discussed at previous meetings.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? And again, we'll talk about this a lot during the budget process. But a lot of times, during whether it's for the homestead proportions, really your assessed value on that really doesn't determine your tax rate for the village. It's really how it is in comparison to other properties, and we'll talk about that a lot in coming weeks as we go through this process, because I believe the budget's presented at our next meeting.
Yeah, it is.
So,
No, the one after.
is it?
We're only
No,
meeting-
because
we're
our
only-
We have
next
one
one's
more
the
meeting
second
in
meeting in
March.
March.
No, but the budget is
April.
entered. It's presented at the first meeting in April.
Oh,
Yeah, at the public hearing.
Don't make trouble, Mayor.
okay.
No, right.
I thought it was before
Budget
we.
no. The budget
before
gets
we have the
the
public
budget gets
hearings.
filed by March 20th.
Oh, filed. Okay,
It's
got it.
filed. The funny part is the administrator files it with the clerk.
Right, right. That must be very difficult for
yes.
you.
And then so the budget gets filed. The board gets it, of course,
Do you
and
need
then
to see someone about that.
and then I will give a brief overview as required by law, the village law, at the next meeting of the budget. But the public hearing will be setting at the next meeting
Right.
for the first meeting in April, which is also when we typically do the budget presentation.
Okay.
That's the ninth,
All right.
right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking of because I know it has to be presented to us
Yes. March 20th.
prior to April 1st when we start meeting about it. So, okay. Now that I've totally confused everyone, any questions or comments about the base proportions? All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 7. Resolution number 7, considering setting a public hearing on a proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law Section 3C for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2024.
Now, therefore, be resolved that a public hearing will be held by the board of the Village of Rybrook on Tuesday, April 9th, 7:30 p.m., which will include opportunities for interested members of the public to provide written and oral comments on the proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I am going to say what I say every year is that we do not anticipate having to do this, but or we hope not to have to break the tax cap. It is certainly our desire to stay within the tax cap. And I will say that New York State, like I say every year, New York State is a home rule state. And therefore, the village should have the right to determine its own laws and regulations, including any tax limitations placed upon it. And that New York State has implemented this as a way to, for lack of a better word, coerce municipalities into creating this artificial tax cap that they promised would come with certain tax
Mandate relief.
mandate relief, that that would come with mandate relief from the state, and to date that relief has not been seen by any municipality.
Still waiting.
And we're still waiting many years into the tax cap. We understand the reasoning for it. It used to be that municipalities had to participate and stay within the tax cap and not pass such a local law in order for their residents to qualify for certain rebates from the state. It's my understanding that those rebates no longer exist. And so that incentive is gone as well. So we therefore are passing this law to reserve the right to pass a property tax levy in excess of the limit. We hope to
Levy
stay
or
within.
levy? I prefer the phrase levy.
You know what? I say both, and really it depends on the sentence, I think. So because I really don't know which is the proper. So
It's a little bit of a religious toned levy.
I'll say levy. Right. I mean, we were
says we
also
don't-
talking about the Brook recently, and so it makes me think of levy. So, but either way, we will intend to have a public hearing. What we're doing here is setting a public hearing on this. If our budget is within the tax cap, then there will be no need to have this public hearing.
Correct.
So, but I always need to say that every year. Any other questions or comments?
Well, we have our budget meetings coming up, so we shall see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change that thing, but we may need to have an add-on resolution.
Okay.
Because I think,
Well, we could do
oh,
it
we
next
could
time.
do it at the next meeting probably.
For what?
But let's get through
Okay.
this first and we'll discuss
Sure.
after.
Nothing
Alright.
affects April 9th, though. 'cause those
No.
are- Okay.
No, it would be the following. We're probably gonna have to change the date of the following meeting.
That's fine. No problem.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because of levies.
Really? All right. So, setting a public hearing on the tax cap access. Any other questions or comments?
None.
Trustee Epstein?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution, sorry, I had to look, number 8. Considering approving use of village streets for the 2024 Wall Street Rides, FAR, for Autism Research event.
Now therefore be resolved that subject to final approval of the police department, the Autism Science Foundation is authorized to use the Village of Rybrook streets for the 2024 Wall Street Rides FAR for Autism Research charity bike event on Saturday, October 5th, 2024, requested in a letter dated February 29th, 2024, and be further resolved that the village streets shall be used in compliance with the terms and conditions established by the police department.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So, second.
I would say, I mean, this is not the first time we've seen this. This seems to be an annual event at this point. I haven't heard of any issues in the past, so, and it's a very good event. And we welcome them again to Rybrook, or the portion that they're in Rybrook.
I just have a quick question because somebody inquired recently about using our village streets for this reason. Do they pay officers, or how does this work?
If officers are needed for any race, then yes, they would pay for officers to be present, if we have to bring people in.
So this is the ride, et cetera. Is there a need for our officers?
That's determined by the police department. That's why we word it that way. If they do need them, if the police department determines they need them, then they have to sign a contract and they have to provide us with
Liability.
the fee that was provided as part of the our license fee schedule.
Right, of course.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering approving use of village streets for the 2024 Velocity Ride to End Cancer.
Now therefore be resolved that the 2024 Velocity Ride to End Cancer is authorized to use the village streets for the Velocity Ride on Sunday, October 6th, 2024, requested in an email received on February 28th, and be it further resolved that the village route and any conditions shall be established by the police chief of the Village of Rybrook Police Department.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
I have to admit, the first time I read this the other day, I had to look twice to make sure that they weren't on the same day, because at first I thought they were, which could be a blessing or a curse if they were. But again, this is another ride that seems to have been for the past few years, and I haven't heard of any issues. So, any other questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Administrator's report.
Okay, just a few items. The update on the NRCS, or the National Resource Conservation Service Program. We do have 10 yeses so far. We do have we have 1 declination. And the spread on the streets is 4 on Brook Lane, 5 on Wyman, and 1 on Rockridge, out of those that accepted. And the one that denied it was one of the properties on Brook Lane. And not on the Brook side, but on the opposite side. The other item I want to mention is we now have all the names. It's taken a while, but I'm pleased to say that we have 7 communities that have all agreed to participate in our intermunicipal airport master plan task force. So that's 14 people. So it's a pretty large, sizable group when you think about it. And we're going to set up a meeting. We were trying to lock in some dates, but looking towards the end of March or the first week in April for their first meeting, which will be held through Zoom. And the communities that are participating is obviously Rybrook, Rye City, Portchester, Ryetown, North Castle, and Newcastle. So those are all the communities that are participating. So, and Greenwich. So we're very excited to have everybody, being a part of that. And the mayor is going to kind of kick it off for us at the first meeting and kind of set the tone, and then they'll have to pick a chair and start their task.
Yes, and
Everybody that was asked participated?
no.
No, 3 communities didn't respond. Not surprised.
Can they be added?
Yeah, if they
can
change
be
their
added,
mind
if
or
they
decide,
change
they didn't decline either. They just didn't reply. That's okay. So the good news is we have a lot that are participating. So.
Great. No, it's awesome.
And all the ones that are closest to us are all participating.
Yes.
The closest ones to the airport. So also March 28th, we're going to have our first rec pop-up event, which is we did this last year. We have a little quick opening day ceremony for Major League Baseball opening day, and we have little hot dogs. And last year it was a cold 40-degree day, and people came out like you can't believe. I couldn't believe it. I guess people were
March 28th?
anxious to come out. Yeah. So that's opening. That's Major League Baseball opening day. So that's why we're.
It's a Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're having it at the park.
It's we'll just do something quick at the park. It's an hour and a half. We'll have baseball cards to give out, like from the donation. Huh?
We don't have the cards anymore.
We have cards. No, we still have cards.
Oh, we still have cards?
We still have donated
Because
cards.
I mean,
You couldn't have possibly given all those away.
We haven't said it yet. We're thinking usually 5 or 6, something
What time
like
are you
that.
having this?
Just
6
so you
p.m.?
know,
Usually
the
like
kids
5 or
don't
6. We
have
haven't locked the time down
The
yet.
kids don't have school that week, you know?
Oh, really?
That's
Okay,
been
so
great.
maybe look.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of
Home.
people.
You can't change the day because it's like we're
No, I'm
celebrating
saying,
it. Yeah,
like, maybe
maybe
do
that'd
it
be good.
earlier.
Oh, we could do it earlier
That's
then.
what I'm saying.
Oh, that's good.
Then
Great
you're
for
going
us
to have
too.
a lot more people.
That's okay.
I'm just letting you know.
That's
So
the idea of
planning.
it, right?
Still
So
be working.
planning.
Okay, that's the idea. But that's great if they're off.
Yeah.
So,
the
yeah,
kids
March
won't be
28th.
working, let them go.
no, the kids won't be working, but
So yeah, we give out hot dogs and it's a fun event. And give out baseball cards. We have
Popcorn?
we have a fast pitch thing where they can throw the ball and see how fast they can throw.
Seems to me we should have Cracker Jacks.
That
And
I would love that, but
popcorn.
it's too costly.
let's just, I mean.
Homemade? Can we make homemade
we,
Cracker Jacks?
We have to anticipate for the numbers this year.
Yes, we do.
So we're not running out.
Running to the supermarket.
We're not running to the supermarket and cleaning out all of their hot dogs.
Nobody had hot
supplies.
dogs or rolls that night if they wanted them from the
record,
supermarket.
We ran out of hot dogs, I think, in about 45 minutes or half an hour last time.
Rainy, cold, people couldn't
Yeah.
believe people showed up, but that was great.
And we also still thank the family for the donation
yes,
of the card.
of the car and the cards too.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And we talked about it already, but I just want to mention again the budget's going to be submitted on March 20th, and shortly thereafter we'll have it right on the website, and then we'll also it's interactive again. It's going to be, so it'll all be it's our digital budget book, and it's we try to make it a lot easier for people to follow than a kind of flat PDF on a website. So it's much more interactive, and you can look at histories and everything. It's meant to be very transparent.
And I'm assuming we'll receive it in the same format we did last year.
You will.
Which was the first year we had that.
Yes, yeah, it's the second year.
Now it's been less work because I remember how much work the changeover
much
was
easier,
last
yeah.
year.
It's wonderful.
But also now we're more familiar with it.
The curve, the learning curve for
The
everybody.
learning curve, yeah.
There's also the fitness walk is coming up on April 4th.
April 4th. Yep. We still have one more meeting. I forgot I was going to mention next one.
That's okay. I just want people to put
Yep,
it in their
it-
calendars now.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think we should start putting out some flyers.
What time is that?
Usually 9:15,
It's usually
9.
morning,
Yeah.
I think everybody's ready to get out and do these
Well,
things.
I'm hoping for a day like today.
Yes.
Everybody was
Well,
out of my
sign us
neighborhood
up.
today.
Absolutely.
It was packed.
Yeah.
Baby
Sign us up.
carriages.
Yeah.
So I'd like everybody to know that it's multi-generational. Everybody can walk. Dogs, babies. 2.5-year-old doesn't walk as fast in the carriage. All right, well then I'll expect to see you. It passes your house, April 4th.
All right. Just regarding, because we know we're going to have to change the date of the next meeting, or the second meeting in April, we'll have time.
Yeah.
The next
anytime.
meeting gives
Yeah.
us enough time to
Oh
know.
yeah, absolutely.
Which one, the 30th?
All right, then we'll work.
The
It was
second
going to be on the
Passover.
23rd.
Oh.
So,
I think we should also let people know that April 1st and 8th, when we have our budget
Right.
meetings, it's a limited seating in this
but
room.
it's open to the
Standing
public.
room
Right.
only.
So it is a first come, first serve as far as
Right,
seating,
as far
to
as seating.
sit in on the budget hearings.
Yes.
Because
That's your opportunity to have a say.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
If you thought the Oscars were thrilling, wait till you see
Can't dress up. I would like to wear what they wear.
women who look like
Yeah,
they're wearing
right.
exploding
If someone
pink
else is-
marshmallow.
yeah.
Oh, that was Ariana Grande.
Oh, was it?
So, all right. So, are there any comments from the public? No?
Yeah.
Something separate.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Yeah, please.
So so this is something separate. I had sent an email to you all last week after the rainstorm. I don't know if you received it, so I discovered. So I moved into my house, or I bought my house in July of 2020, and the backyard was great. It was one of the main selling points for us. The previous owners, one of their daughters had her soccer practices in the back. It was in great condition. After we moved in, over some period of time, we noticed that as it rained, the water was becoming more and more of an issue in the back, which got to the point where, and it is now, our backyard's like pretty much not usable for our daughter, just because there's so much water. It's always waterlogged. There's at least 6 months out of the year, there's a huge bug problem. There's gnats, mosquitoes, and then recently my neighbor's fence there's like a wooden fence next to a metal fence behind the yard, and the wooden part fell off, so I could see what was happening behind. I noticed that there was a roughly 12-inch black corrugated pipe that I wasn't sure what it was doing, but so I live at 16 Sleepy Hollow Road, bordering the Brook Elementary School, and so I went to go check it out during the rainstorm last week to see what was going on, and I found that so the new parking lot at the elementary school slopes down towards my house, so all the water is coming down towards my house. It goes into a single drain, which then it seems like runs through this pipe, which goes behind the fence line next to my neighbor's house, and then towards my house, and then it's just dumping a ton of water right behind my yard, on the school side of the fence, and I sent you guys videos of it, if you're able to see it, but it's just it's created a huge problem. My yard's had suffered from erosion. My tree line along the fence, all my trees are either dead or dying from overwatering, and my daughter can't use our yard, which is a huge issue, and also I'm sure it brings down the value of our house. So I don't know if there's any way you guys can help me to get to the bottom of the issue and help to resolve it. I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and we did receive the email. I took a look at it, and I apologize I didn't respond because Colin Byrne from the school beat me to it.
Yep.
That he was responding. Just as a point of reference, the school, when they do construction, when they do work, they're not required to follow village code, nor do they have to get permits from the village.
Okay.
That's all controlled by the state. We did ask, and Chris, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, and I know you'll talk about this. We did ask the school for copies of their stormwater management plan,
Okay.
which we did receive, and we're having village staff take a look at it.
Okay.
We haven't received it yet, but I don't think we've received that yet.
Oh, we didn't
yeah,
receive
no.
it?
No. We're
Oh, I
waiting.
thought we had.
Colin is going to send it, but we haven't received it.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought we had received it.
We requested it.
Yeah, we requested it so that village staff can take a look.
Yeah. No, what the mayor said was correct. So we don't have any approval authority over the school. That's all through New York, through the state, through the health department, but that oversees school construction projects. That said, of course, anything we want to look at we want to know where the drainage patterns are, because if it's impacting our system at all, we would like to know that. So we've asked for a copy of their stormwater plans. They do have to follow state law in this area, right, Michael? Which law does it have to follow? the MS4,
MS4,
which
okay.
is a state requirement for handling stormwater. So that their plans do have to meet that. You know, if there's any issue with that, then that's something that needs to be brought up. Did you raise the issue to the school at all?
Have you
Well,
seen
I
this?
included them in the email.
Yeah, because that's the right agency. Them and the state would be the one. But we are following up. You know, we have a very good relationship with the school district.
Right.
And we've asked for copies of the stormwater plans that they built so we could have a better understanding of it. And I believe Michael went out to the site too. Michael Nowak is our superintendent.
Yes, I was
of
out
Public
there on
Works.
Friday on a separate matter, and then I went out there and I looked at it, and there is a 12-inch pipe that discharges into the rear of the field, in back of the maintenance building. It's actually served by 3 storm drains within the parking lot.
Okay.
So we will be reviewing their storm drain design, and we will see what we could do. We do have open the dialogue with the school, and we'll see what can be done or what can't be done. As mentioned, they are regulated by the New York State Ed Department, not by the village, so,
I said health. I said ed.
yeah,
It's the
not the health
educa-
department.
yeah,
Health
ed
department for other
My
things.
mistake, sorry.
But they are SED, so we do not necessarily have the full enforcement authority that we've always had, but we do have a good relationship with them, so hopefully they'll do the right thing. But let's see what the plans say, let's see what was approved, and then we go from there.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. Yeah, and I know it's regulated not by the town, but considering I'm a town resident, it's affecting a townhouse, bringing down the value and causing potential health issues. I hope that you guys can help me out. Thank you.
Some of us, I want to admit, don't use a rybrook.org account, so I didn't see an email.
Me neither.
I
So I'm
just
going to give you
forward-
my personal
I just
email.
forwarded it to all of you.
I think for the trustees, there was just one email, which I think was just for.
It was me, Chris and I were on the email.
Right, so
And
so you have a separate email on the rybrook.org website. There was only a single email for trustees, which was possibly just your email, maybe.
No, it's probably the BOT.
probably the
yeah.
BOT, yeah. I just
Everyone
forwarded
doesn't
it
use the
again.
same email all the time, but
Okay,
but
got it.
yeah.
So is it not just you, it's your neighbors as well?
I would imagine
Yeah,
it's
so
affecting all
also
of them.
affecting the Brookmans at 20 Sleepy Hollow Road, and I don't know if the
Thank you.
water specifically is causing any like damage to trees or erosion at the Ratners on the other side of me, but I'm sure they're also experiencing the same bug issue that's resulting from it.
Right, I want to make sure that I think that all of the houses that abut the property should be looked at also, because I know that on the other side, there is water sheeting from the lower lot as well, coming down Rocking Horse Trail and leading to a bunch of water, and then water came through on Rocking Horse Trail through that neighborhood also. So if we can look at everything at the same time, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yes, and hopefully all that will be on the plans that we receive, and we'll look at that.
Excellent.
Thank you. And you said Mike?
Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike is amazing.
Your property next weekend.
Okay, that'd be good. Thank you.
She's watching the video right now.
I've never seen it.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. All right. Yeah, Chris.
No, I'm saying you may want to ask to meet with the superintendent too, or their facilities person. Yeah, they can kind of walk you through, and you can express their concerns directly too, because that's, you're also a resident of the school district too. So,
Right.
you should.
That's
that'd
a
be a
good-
good thing to do.
That's a
Yeah,
good
maybe just ask for a meeting.
suggestion.
Just ask to meet with them. It might be the easiest way to do it.
That's a good suggestion. All right, thank you. All right, any other questions, comments from the board about anything? All right, the next meetings of the Board of Trustees, the regular meetings of the Board of Trustees will be March 26th and April 9th. We also have budget workshops on April 1st and 8th.
Yes, we do. A lot of
Between
meetings.
there, so a lot of meetings coming up. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Kevin, thank you for staying for the entire meeting.
Just, I'm not-
If-